I think your presence is important right now, because today we know that digital presence is very, very important, and you've reached that level, right? You've embarked that journey. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for coming today and agreeing to do this dialogue with me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Sharan, I wanted to put across my first question by asking you, what has inspired you? What made you become Finance with Sharan?
Right. Actually, it was a very, the real answer has nothing to do with doing what I'm doing today. I was applying for my MBA about 3 years back. And I was one of those people who have not really achieved anything in the extracurricular section of my resume. And these US MBA colleges want people who have done something extraordinary apart from academics. So academics was easy, right? Study and get good marks. But how do you stand out in the extracurriculars? I was not good at sport, tried doing some social service work, but everybody does that. So towards that extent, that is the reason why I thought, okay, if I create some content on finance and get like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, something I can write in my extracurricular. So that is the reason I started. But fast forward to today, I would not have imagined it to be, this big.
Wow, that's such a dream, right? Excellent. So when you started your journey, when you started posting content, you mentioned that did you not anticipate to become this big? So how has the journey been so far? What kind of efforts you had to put in to achieve something like this?
Right, so content creation is one of those fields where there is no rule book, right? There is no textbook that you can follow and follow the rules. If it was so easy, then like everybody would have done it, right? It is more about understanding the psyche of the audience, and that keeps changing every month on month. Understanding what is something that entertains the audience, what triggers the audience, and not just on one platform, across 4 different social media platforms, that is Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. On every platform, that same audience wants different things, right? So understanding that and then positioning your content for that particular platform is the challenge. So it just comes through trial and error, and it's not as simple as just blindly copying someone else's strategy, right? You need to create a unique strategy for yourself, and that only happens when you're doing a lot of experimentation. Let's say you build a certain audience, let's say you get 1,000 followers. Now you need to meticulously understand who those 1,000 followers are, how are they reacting to the content that you're making, and keep changing the content accordingly in a manner that appeals to your existing audience, but also gets you a new audience of that particular category. Right? So that is something that comes purely through experimentation. There is no rule book that you can follow. Of course, you can take inspiration from other content creators in this niche. But when I began, nobody was doing anything in the education space, at least on Instagram. So it was a challenge to understand how do you take complicated finance topics and convert it into a manner which is digestible for everybody to understand. Because I wanted to reach to the masses. Finance news is already available on reputed publications and traditional media, but that was only for the top 1% of India who could read it and understand it. But what about the rest of India? So I wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So the way that I could do it was to add humor into finance and also do a little bit of acting and sketches, and that appealed to the masses. And that's why millions of people today watch my content for something as boring as finance.
Right? I mean, this industry is such that today, I mean, if I had to think that, okay, numbers is going to be difficult for me to, work on. During my college days, during my schooling time, I used to always think, oh, maths, accounts, right? So I used to always think that. And then making it innovative, making it for the audience. It's like you said, it is very, very important to know your audience, to know, what kind of thought process they have, how much, I mean, today on Instagram, I think after Instagram, people are not able to spend more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds or 3 minutes. Yeah, the attention span has gone down. So capturing that attention for just that minutes is very important. But if you ask me, this is important. Right now, coming on digital, making your own personal brand is important. Be it 1,000 followers, be it 500 followers, or be it 3 million followers. It is very important. So what advice would you give to all our dignitaries that have come here? They have immense knowledge and expertise, right? If they have to, if anybody here wishes to share that knowledge, how could they start their journey? What is that they should, look at as a best practice or as a start point to build their digital presence? Right. And, make a viewership where their experience can be heard, that their experience can be learned.
Right. So first I'll like to touch upon why it's important to build a personal brand, because today most of us might think that, I already have a strong network of people, I'm already doing good in my career, so why should I spend my time on social media and try to build a personal brand for myself? I don't want to, I'm not really interested in the number of followers that I have. That is how I used to think before I started content creation. But today, after seeing the number of advantages that I've had in my life, it's almost feels like I'm cheating, right? It feels like I'm playing the game of life for me is too easy because everything is coming easily, everybody is reaching out to me. So reaching that level is what personal brand does for you. More than the knowledge that you have, it is more important for people to know that you have that knowledge, right? Today you might feel like you are the most intelligent person in that respective field, but the people will not think that unless you're discovered, unless people know that someone like you exists who has all of this knowledge. And the only way to do that is to create content. Now, the number one mistake that most people make when they make content, especially the people who are very, very intelligent in their field, is they make it really, really jargon heavy, because they feel like when I make it jargon heavy and when I be very, very technical, that is when I might seem smart to the audience. But the audience doesn't really care about your difficult terminologies that you're using. If you can explain what you know to a 15-year-old, like when I make content on finance, I will actually show it to my friends and family who have no knowledge in finance. And only if they are able to understand it, only then I know that this video is ready to go out. And you might think that if somebody is not able to understand the way I'm telling it, is that really worth my time? Is this person who is not understanding this complicated jargons, is he worth my time? But this person is going to be your future customer, right? Because today you have a good list of customers, but the future customers are the ones who are in their 20s and 30s, right? The Gen Z crowd. So if you are not able to connect with them today, you will lose out on them to future companies who will crack that game before you. So cracking the content creation game and the personal branding game is super crucial for the longevity of your own business.
Great piece of advice. Can you share some memorable, success stories or lessons that you've learned in your own investment experiences?
Right. Success stories for me is firstly explaining to people that investing is not just about making the most amount of money. Most people confuse investing with thinking, putting in the stock market and getting 20%, 25% returns. I think the bigger learning for most people is that the way that you have allocated your money, your existing money, is wrong. And you cannot just blindly copy somebody else when you're investing, right? So many people do that, right? We ask our friends what stocks you're investing and they just blindly copy it. But everybody will have their own unique investment plan that they need to follow when it comes to investing. So the way I say it is that your finances are cluttered right now. How do you unclutter it? And as a consequence of doing that, you'll actually block the leakages which are happening in your investments. So I think making people understand that which is what I do through my master classes, right? So around 10,000 people come for this master class every month, and we collect feedback from almost all of them, right? We have a very strong customer experience team talking to all of them. And once we hear their feedback, I think that is when I really feel happy about what I'm doing. That when people say, yeah, I'm a CA, but I did not know about this. Now I'm planning my investments better. Yeah, I've been working for 10 years. I graduated from IIT, and now I know exactly what to do with my money. So these are maybe seemingly small success stories, but this is what truly matters to me. It's not that I made 50% growth last year. I mean, that is just one-off growth. But what people really need is how to unclutter your finances and plan it better.
Fantastic. My one last question before we end today's conversation. Any tips that you would want to share, where it's more about balance risk and get more return when it comes to making investment decisions?
Well, I think it's very difficult to give a tip which for the masses, right? If you're asking me for one particular person, and if that person tells me I need money for this and that, then I can give that tip. But when I'm talking to a crowd of, let's say, 50, 70 people, it is actually incorrect to give a tip because there is no financial advice which is applicable for everybody. For some person, it could be a 70% allocation in stock market, 20% in debt, 10% in gold. But for someone on that side of the room, it could be 70% debt, 20% equity, and 5% gold, and 5% real estate. So it's very, very customized for every person. So I think that is the tip that I would like to say, that don't blindly follow any advice that you're getting. You need to figure it out by yourself. There are only two ways to do it. Either get a financial advisor. Unfortunately, there are only 1,300 financial advisors in India for a population of 1.5 billion people. The other one is to learn it by yourself. So I would say the greatest tip is to learn how to manage your finances by yourself, because copying others is just not going to work out for you.
Absolutely. Great. Great conversation with you, Sharan. Thank you for sharing your journey for being a content creator. I know personally a lot of people that, who wants to get into that, journey. And we all are trying to, take an effort to at least understand how we can share our experience, curate relevant content for our audience, because it is important now. It is important to have your own digital presence. So good to have, learned from you on your journey. Thank you so much for coming us on this platform of CIO News and talking to us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here.